Welcome to the Growth League podcast, where we interview business owners who have experienced quantum leap growth in their business. In each episode, we're going to dive deep into our guests' firsthand experience about what it was like 90 days before and 90 days after that point when their business started experiencing massive growth. All right. So we're talking about firsts. We're talking about the number one. I don't know if you remember the first time you hit a jump shot, Kevin, or the first time you met your wife, or the first time you saw your first kid, but this is a first. This is episode number one.
Whoa.
On the Growth Ramp podcast. And I am very honored to be joined by my friend, my mentor, sometimes my line mate in pickup basketball, although it's a lot more fun playing against you because you get all rattled. So it's a pleasure to have you. This is Kevin Wilhelm. He is the co-founder and president of Pod Marketing. Pod Marketing's a cool concept. It is 2014 you started it, and originally started as a digital marketing agency, but since has evolved into a full service marketing agency that is able to achieve niche vertical specificity in terms of solutions that work in that industry, processes, systems, even team members in different expertise areas that support them. You're serving eye care, dental, home services, medical aesthetics, and senior living. Senior living's new, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, we just started about a year ago. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for being number one. I understand you're in the middle of an office move. What's going on at the office right now?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Caleb. It's an honor to be your first. And things are busy. I would say I actually hosted a webinar during the shutdown, and I actually had a panel of my clients on that webinar sharing their experiences. And one of them asked the panel, and they had asked everybody watching at home, what would you have done in your business 6 months before the shutdown if you knew this was coming? And his point was sort of, should we not be managing our businesses and making those hard decisions when times are great, not just when times are horrible? So that stuck with me. And I remember sort of making a promise to myself when I had heard that I needed to do a couple changes in the business just to make sure that I lived up to that sort of promise when he had said that. And so I came into the office. We actually have done quite well post-opening. We've recovered through a lot of hard work through my team. We were fortunate enough to bounce back, and we made the decision to look at changing office spaces. And a lot of it came down to realizing the new world and where employees want to work from, and what we need and what we don't need. And as our team grows, we were going to be running out of space anyway. So we kind of had to reconfigure how we worked office and virtual anyway. And there's an opportunity within our current building to move offices and save some rent and still have a pretty good cohesive footprint, which is what we were able to achieve. So we made the decision to actually downsize the office, even though our team is growing in size, to be able to give permission to people to work from home, and sort of put our money where our mouth was, and saying that, yeah, we want you to work from home. If you feel more comfortable there, go for it. So we're just happen to be in the middle of that move right now.
How's that going in terms of people's level of maturity around deciding what works for them? Come in a couple days a week, stay home a couple days a week, or is it just kind of, whatever works for them type thing?
Yeah, I think we're still trying to find that. Everybody is still trying to find that balance. And there are people that love to just wake up and not have to worry about getting ready and the commute in, worrying about, having a breakfast or coffee out. So they prefer to work from home. But then, the itch hits, and people typically choose companies because of the people they get to work with. We're fortunate to have an amazing culture. And so I feel like people can only be at home for so long before they get that itch and want to come in and be around their colleagues. So we see a healthy mix. We have some people that are primarily office-based, probably 25%. 25%, I would say, I see very rarely, probably once a month they come in. And that majority, that 50%, are sort of split, either 50-50 or 2 or 3 days a week, one way or the other.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a quick story on what you're doing today, moving offices and navigating, work home balance. But bring us back to the beginning, 2014. What's the origin story of Pod? I know I have very small snippets of this story, but I'm excited to hear from you.
Sure. So even before 2014, so in 2013, I was introduced to the owner of a Calgary-based home services company called Action Furnace. And if you live in Calgary, you probably see the trucks and you see the bus benches and you hear them on the radio all the time. And at that time, he was the owner. His name is Bruce. He was dissatisfied with his current advertising, a digital agency that he was actually using somebody offshore in Australia, but he just felt like there could be more. And so both my partner and I at the time, his name is Kareem, we were introduced to Bruce. We met him and we just clicked right away. And we felt the same way about growth, about advertising, about how do you managing people, about just overall marketing philosophies. And at the time, he still saw us as a risk. Most people do. To change marketing is a big change. And so he gave us a test. He said, hey, create a competing company against me. And he actually was willing to fulfill and have Action Furnace with another furnace company compete head to head. And he said, beat my current agency and I'll give you the work. And I love creative problem solving. So, and I love a challenge. So I said, all right, we're in. So we got to name the company. We called it Furnace Doctor. We came with the logo, the website, the whole 9 yards, and we went head to head against him. It's funny, his salespeople would have both uniforms. They would drive both trucks. So he was selling the same product to the same people. But we clicked very well. And after about 6 months of that, he had said, you know what, I think that we need to expand this and actually let's build a home services agency. I know that if you spend a lot of your time working on my company, it's going to grow, and I'll get a few friends, you get a few friends, and you and your friends will be able to help, me and my colleagues. So that was the original idea of Pod. And we knew that starting a company, in order to avoid being commoditized, and marketing is as commoditized as it gets, especially in the digital agency world, without a track record of creative awards and what have you, we knew we had to specialize in a city, product, being like the best website company or what have you, or an industry. And so I love that initial idea. We took that, we formulated a business plan that said we are going to build people and processes and a product around an industry, and then we'll scale it sort of globally, at least in the English speaking countries, and attack the market that way. And so that's what we did. I ended up, at the time, this was sort of a side job for me. I quit my job. We started the company, incorporated January 1st, 2014. Action Furnace was the only client we had. I was the only employee at the time. I worked in their building, and they were only client for a couple months. We really redid everything. I hired a few contractor friends at the time. We built a new website, a new content strategy, a new brand design, new paid search campaign, everything. And the results worked. And from there, we used that as a case study.
Specifically for Action Furnace that you were building? Like, bro, I've never heard of anything like that, where a client is the beginning of the development and creation of an agency. Like that's a pretty forward thinking on both parties.
Yeah, like I guess looking back, maybe it was risky to quit a job and start something without knowing it was going to work. We just kind of figured we could make it work. Like right. It's digital marketing really is a science. There's an art to it, but there's also methods. There's a method to improve results and optimize. And so if the website's not working, we got to find out why. If the ads aren't working, we got to find out why. So we knew we could problem solve our way through it. So it took about 2 months. We saw pretty drastic results early on. A new website, conversion rates went up, traffic costs went down. Overall, his cost per lead was cut in half of what he had before. And when we had that story, we were able to share that. He was able to take me to a conference. We met up with some of his friends at the conference, and they bought in. They bought into the belief, the idea, the story, all of it. And so we were able to grow pretty quickly because we approached it differently.
So obviously at some point during the journey, you had aspirations of growing bigger, taking on new clients. And it sounds like he was pretty supportive of that. So the whole topic around the Growth Ramp podcast is to dig into scale, to dig into
Yeah.
that moment of growth. Can you remember back when that tipping point was? How can you describe that tipping point? Was it, did you get an office, or did you get on a couple new clients and then had to pull in new employees onto the team? Describe that moment for me and how you defined it as growth.
I think that first year was, and now looking back and talking to others that run companies and others that run agencies, we achieved a lot in that first year. I didn't really have perspective of what we really achieved. But I remember specifically our first Christmas party. So starting January 1st, we're holding a Christmas party, almost 12 months later. And I believe we had about 8 or 9 people on the team, full-time employees on the team. And kind of sitting around and looking at like, okay, we've already been able to employ 8 or 9 people. We had probably 12 to 14 clients, something like that. It was diversified enough that I felt like that was pretty good scale. We had done, about 750,000 in revenue in the first 12 months. And I guess looking back, to go from 0 to that in 12 months was probably the first point of like recognizing we had hit some sort of scale. But not really when you're talking about only, a handful of clients. I would say, so we continued going at that pace for the first 4 or 5 years. And a year and a half ago, we sort of sat back and said, what is this the future of the company? And to rewind a little bit, our model is, at that time especially, we did everything for one retainer price. And so we didn't have a lower tier. This was the number. And we did everything from strategy, web design, ads, SEO, content creation, you name it. Anything as a client you dreamt, we did. And we sort of priced it at the same rate as an employee. And so we came up with a lot of problems with that over time, is that clients wanted more and more, and we couldn't find a way to charge them more because we had told them it was all included. And there were so many people that couldn't afford that number, and we didn't work with them. So we saw limitations in the model. So a year and a half ago, we sat back and said, okay, if we're going to revamp the company to really hit scale and go after market share and be able to solve some of these problems, what does that look like? And so we actually completely revamped the company, and we went to a tiered level, a product-based company where it's more of consultative selling. And we had people start in at a $500 a month program where they amortize the website over 2 years, and then they kind of picked and choose what they want on top of that. And that's when scale happened for us. And we launched that July of 2019. And up until that point, we had grown to about 90 clients. From July to the end of December, we had doubled our number of doors. And so we actually had doubled the number, not our revenue, but we doubled the number of clients we were working with. Within 6 months, it took us 6 years. And that was because we had made a fundamental shift in how we did business. And that came with its own set of issues, right? Like, because now we sold essentially, I think the number was 115, 118 websites between July 1st and December 31st of 2019. And as anyone who sits in the seats that we do, fulfilling 115 websites that are sold in 6 months is no easy task. We had sold 35 or something like that the year prior, the whole year prior. So we were used to fulfilling websites 3 a month. Now we had to go substantially faster. So we had to change everything in the business.
You talked about right before that moment of scale was kind of triggered by, it sounds like you were a little bit limited in terms of having a one option. You either could pay for it or you couldn't pay for it. It either fit for the client or it didn't fit. So was the tipping point tethered specifically to that decision to, come up with a couple different packages, or what else influenced that meeting where you sat together and said, it's time to grow, or how did you know it was time to grow?
I don't think there's a pinpoint minute. Mm-hmm. I think that we as a leadership team had many conversations about what was in our future, what was holding us back today. And what we kept hearing over and over again was, prospect A would be amazing. They just can't afford, they're brand new. They're a startup company. They can't afford our services, but man, would they be great.
Yeah.
And then we hand them off to someone else in hopes that we'll get them back down the road. Of course, that's not going to happen. They're building a relationship with someone else.
Right.
So we weren't working with a lot of people. And the other thing is, when you're at it all or nothing, if clients decide to move on, they also went from here to zero. And they were saying, I can't afford this amount anymore. I don't need this anymore. But you don't really have another option. So I have to go to another company that's only offering me paid search, so they're only offering me this. And so we just saw this, like, how much just opportunity we were leaving on the table to service such a wide, like we were probably servicing 2% of the market, maybe
Right.
less.
Right.
1 out of 100 people were the right fit. And while it helped us grow and achieve, pretty quick growth, it was limiting us in terms of future potential. So I think having so many of those conversations over and over again and trying to problem solve, and maybe it's a sales issue, we have to sell it better. Maybe it's a positioning, like we have to. And so then we were sitting our annual strategic planning session for the following year. And these ideas kept coming up. We go, you know what, I think we should seriously look at revamping the whole business model.
Wow. So when you did that, what did the next 6 months feel like? What were some of the memorable changes that you saw on a day-to-day basis, with your company when you said, this is the direction we're going, let's go after this scale? How did life start to change a little bit for Pod?
Almost nothing was the same, to be honest. So we took, let's just start with our account managers. So we call them marketing directors. They're highly educated, highly experienced strategists that work and they represent our company with our clients. They were paid salaries up until then. And every time they earned a new client, what that meant was their life was harder. I have to do more work for the same pay. And so they were quick to say, I don't know if this is the client's the right fit.
Right.
I don't know, the problems are a little too big. And so they would first fight us to take on more work, or they would tell us really fast why clients weren't the right fit. And we switched them to commission. And we went to a percentage of revenue under management. And immediately it was like, well, so first of all, we take people that were not hired as salespeople and tell them, now you're selling.
Right.
Well,
did they have a base on that? Was it base
no.
plus? Yeah, just
no.
go.
The good thing is they had a portfolio already.
Right.
And so the promise I made to them was, none of you are going to take a decrease, and all of you have an opportunity to make a lot more. The only way to take a decrease from here is to lose a lot of clients. And so we kind of gave them that safety net. We also gave them a locked-in period for 3 months to like figure this out. So they had a 3-month window of security, and then they went live. So we told them, like in April, you're going to go live in July. Right. But then they immediately started selling, and they started increasing. And every one of those people across the board, as you can imagine, 120 websites we sold, everyone gets their fair share. They all had an increase in income. So that was a great shift in the business. We also created a new department in a website fulfillment department, knowing we were going to sell a lot of websites. We didn't want our salespeople managing those projects. We wanted them out servicing clients and strategizing and being there. And so we put in a project management based website fulfillment team. So that was new for them because they had never done that position before. We took people from like almost every department and put them into this new role. So there was a lot to figure out there. We had to go from we sell a client and we do everything. So everyone kind of knew the conveyor belt system. First it was web, then it was leads, then it was branding. And we went from a SKU based system where this client's program is totally different. So now we needed new software. We needed pricing for all of them. We needed to figure out, what does each one of these products cost? Well, how do we fulfill it? We need product champions for all of them. We need, like, Caleb, when I say we changed every single thing in the business, changed drastically in 6 months, because we came up with this and launched the idea that we were going to revamp the company at our annual retreat in December before Christmas. And we told them July 1st is when it's live. And so we have 6 months to figure it out. I sort of set the goalpost and said, this is what I want to see, but the team figured it out. They came together like I've never seen, and they identified the issues. They knew what was standing in the way. They started knocking away at all of these issues that were ahead of us. and our discussions became very meaningful, and in terms of the how, and not the what. The what we already
Right.
knew. And then it came down to how are we gonna
Seems
accomplish
like the
this?
only way you could pull something like that off is a couple things. We're talking account executives, not project managers, right?
Yeah.
These are, you talked about highly educated, highly skilled, but also vision. Like you're a visionary guy. I know that. How were you able to? So you guys went into a boardroom somewhere, you and your partner and leadership team, and came up with this new vision. How'd you sell it? How'd you sell it when you came back? That's a pretty drastic change.
Yeah, I think from listening to everybody at the table, I think we accomplished what everybody wanted. So, our vice president of sales wanted to sell more. Hey, guess what? The shackles are off. Not only can you sell more, but you can retain more. You can retain more revenue. So that was a check for him. I have a business partner on the eye care side, and she's just begging, please give me a lower price product. I want to grow, and there's so many people saying no to us. So that checked her box. From an operations standpoint, where the biggest weight lied in, I said, "Are you up for the challenge?" And I think we hire people that are very dynamic and forward thinking and competitive. And so for him, it was, yeah, I'm ready to take on that challenge. And from there, the company helped shape the vision. To be honest, I think to me the vision was, this is where I want to go. I also wrapped it up in this nice word called membership. Um, I don't even know. I think I was in the United States traveling, and you could be like a rewards member to a hotel, and then
Right.
you think about Air Canada. I watched somebody fight so hard to be able to go into the Air Canada lounge, and I was just looked at this like, man, being a member means so much. They're willing to fly at worse times at higher prices just so they can sit in the lounge and collect points. There's got to be something to this membership thing. And so I said, I know what I want. I know what I want it to look like. I know what I want to call it. I have no idea what that means. And that's what I rolled out. And so the vision was very cloudy.
Right.
And our meetings were, let's throw ideas. What could it mean to you?
Right.
And I wanted it to feel inclusive and exclusive. Inclusive when you're in the membership, and exclusive if you're not. And that was really the only guidelines. And from there, we just started brainstorming. So I think it was easy to achieve vision and buy-in because it was shaped by everybody involved. It wasn't simply me.
Right. Well, I remember, I mean, you told me a story once about like a telephone sales-a-thon where you guys all dressed up and you all got on the phones. It seems like it's a pretty collaborative, people feel safe there, it sounds like.
Yeah, that day they didn't. I call it dialing for dollars. And it was one of those, everybody wants to hunt for business. Nobody can find the time. So I said, let's make the time. One day, all in, let's all do it. And to make it fun, we went and got prizes and junk food and alcohol and music. We did 80s theme, and I joined, and every executive had to join, and we all did teams, and we had team contests. And not only is there a prize for the person that got the most sales, but there's a prize for whoever got hung up on the most or had like the worst response. So you kind of win if you fail. And we made a lot of fun out of it. I think it stretched people out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm thankful that people are willing to try it. And I'm also thankful that they told me very quickly, I hate this and I don't want to do this. Right. And so it happened once. So we move on.
You guys do a lot of focus on different verticals and like I said before, different processes, solutions, even team members on a niche by niche basis. Why was that woven into the strategy? Was that part of the strategy from day one?
Yeah.
And what is the advantage there?
So the vertical approach was always a strategy. We actually diverted away from that in the beginning. As a young business, you kind of go where the money is. And so we took on too many projects that weren't the vision, which is probably my regret. At the same time, it helped fund and bring a lot of, really great people into the organization. So, you live, you learn. But the strategy of the vertical was, and I'm sure you live the same thing every day. We work with a client we've never worked with before in an industry we've never worked in. So they have to spend their valuable time paying us to then educate us. And so our value is here right in the beginning. It's like a new employee, right? The value is here. I'm training you. I'm teaching you about my business. What value are you providing? So now we're here. And now we're going to build a website. We're going to do these things, or our value is going to come back up. And are we going to get to value neutral and value positive fast enough where it meets the patience threshold of these clients? And a lot of times they hire us because they need change now. They need change fast. They're entrepreneurs. They don't want to spend 6 months, 9 months, a year letting you figure this out. And so there's always another salesperson. There's always another agency that says, I can do that for you. I can hit those results.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that client leaves, we have spent all of our time, even though we've been paid for it, we spent all this time and I can't reuse it. I don't have another one of these companies to go out and I know I have this one construction company based in High River that does so specifically built prefabricated farmhouses and things. It's like, I don't even know if there's another one like them. So everything I've learned in this, I can't reapply it. So the strategy was, let's create a program that we can reuse. If we're not working with you directly, we're working with someone like you, and I can apply those best practices to you. So always I'm working on improving your business. I can start to become efficient, meaning I can build the program fast. I can build it on budget. I can probably even build it below what other people would charge because they're not paying for their time to learn. We're already there. I can predict results. I already know how long it's going to take for us to be value positive. We're coming to you with industry opportunities that you may not even be aware of because we're working with so many other people in your industry. And so we're able to bring all of that together in this one solution. And when you can achieve that, now our phone rings almost every day because people know us as the agency that deals in eye care, for instance.
Right.
And so we get leads every day coming in from all over North America because people say, oh, I saw you speak at this conference and I saw you partnered with my buying group and 5 of my friends are using you. You start to build that critical mass up within industry, and then it helps from a branding and lead generation perspective as well.
That's awesome. I mean, that's a message for other agency owners out there and other business owners, regardless of industry. When you focus on your client's value and what creates the desired transformation for them, and then reverse engineer your model behind that, you're going to be successful. Like the finite thinking is chase the money. The infinite mind is build value, man, and reverse engineer from that. You guys have been able to do that so well. And I know that you can't pinpoint a time, and none of us can pinpoint a time on, when scale tipped or when that happened. But if you could go back to Kevin in 2016, you got to tell Kevin a couple things. What are you talking to him about? Focus.
That's the number one word. And I probably in 2 years, I'll probably call myself back and tell me to focus again.
Right.
It's always that, how many opportunities, how many strings did we pull trying to create something when it was all right in front of us? And so every minute that I didn't spend building efficiencies and proficiencies in these verticals was a minute that we had our team chasing something else. And when I think back now to it, I know that we'd be further ahead if all we had done was focus in on these verticals. And the argument could be made, why not just be in one then? If that's the case, why be in 5? And, so I think going back, I would have said, like, don't take one-off projects and things that you're not sure, but if you're not extremely confident that you can hit the mark, don't take it on. Focus in on what you're doing. To answer my own point, because I think people do wonder, why am I in 5 then versus the 1? It really came down to diversification. When you look at the eye care industry specifically, that was one we got a lot of traction early on. The optometry world is being completely disrupted by online technologies, and where our clients are independent optometrists, and we're really putting together programs to help them compete and thrive. But we found the ability to help dentists with the same strategies. And so we invested in hiring a new team, a new marketing team, a new sales strategy in terms of growing that side. Home service is the same thing. We put certain people in that are experts, but what we're trying to do is make sure that we give enough resources and attention to still be focused in each one of these verticals. So we wanted just the right amount of diversification and then concentration. So, time will tell whether or not 5 is the right number. Maybe it's 3, maybe it's 8. Right now we're in 5, and that's sort of the strategy moving forward.
So as you've grown, as Pod has scaled and grown, how's Kevin grown? Like, who was Kevin before the tipping point? In parentheses, who is he before the tipping point? Who is he after? How have you changed, for better or worse? I mean, I only know you post scale, and you're one of the good guys. So
What's funny is I remember a story where early on, young, my mom sold my bed and I was getting a new bed. And I remember her telling me that I was distraught and that was my bed. I hung on for dear life. And growing up, my mom had always told me, Kevin hates change. And it's kind of like resonated, stuck with me. And then I married my wife, who is not happy over a weekend unless something has changed in our house. And anyone that visits us, there's an ongoing joke that when you come in, walls will be different colors, furniture will be moved, changed. We have an ongoing transaction happening in our front doorway of Kijiji out and furniture in, and I spend my weekends building and moving stuff around. So I think she helped prepare me and get me in the mindset of always developing personally, which I've been able to carry on to professional. So, I kind of fought early on the organic food chain. I looked at the price tag and I was like, come on. She's really helped nurture this like open-mindedness of me and challenges me on it every day. And so that's where my evolution for like the last, I've been with her 17 years has been. And then coming into a company, I think I took that open-mindedness and said, okay, let's adapt. Let's be willing to change and move. And then surrounding yourself with people that force you to be better, whether it's your teammates, mentors, clients, being open to hear from them about what they need from you. And then organizations, and I'm part of EO, and that has been wildly impactful on my life in terms of showing up and learning. And, interesting enough, we have the EO program, we have an accelerator program, and I know you sat on the board of that, and we do learning days for young budding entrepreneurs and trying to grow their businesses. And recently I attend those learning days where I can. I went to one yesterday, learning all about accounting, cash flow, finance, and what have you, because at the end of the day, I want to learn, but not only from the facilitation, but the people around us. And we're having open discussions about how you're running your cash flow statements and how you're budgeting and forecasting, and just absorbing all of that with an open mind, taking it and then bringing it back to the team and saying, what if, could we? There's a meme. There's a meme though, I will say, on Slack, the Home Alone mom that just goes like, Kevin. Yeah. And every time I go, what if, it's a team-wide news meme, but it's I think it's fun.
That's huge.
You gotta laugh at yourself.
I think most of our positive evolution has something to do with our wives or significant others. So that's good. Entrepreneurs always want growth, right? That's kind of the dream. It's always the goal. But, it doesn't just happen, right? It doesn't just happen out of nowhere. What do you think are the necessary things that need to be in place, the key ingredients that need to be in the mixing bowl before you have a chance at growth, regardless of industry, whether you're an agency or otherwise? What are some of the ones that stand out to you?
Yeah, I'll use my experience. So I believe a team is number one. Business is a team sport. So go out and get the best players you can. You want to win the championship, you need talent. And just more of a philosophy on this is a mix between the veterans and the rookies, the ones that are aspiring and pushing up, and the veterans to help teach. I think you need that healthy mix. When you look at great sports franchises, you sort of have that mix. So a great team that is willing to check you, put you in place, and then being able to have those open conversations. So to me, there's that. Two is a desire, a willingness from everybody on that team to achieve something great. And so we look at hiring dynamic people that thrive in change. And if you don't have that, if you want comfort and stability every day of what you're doing, then we just aren't the best fit. So choosing that team, I think, is important. And then, having a clear-cut vision and writing it on paper and sharing it, and then holding yourself accountable and having the team hold you accountable. In our staff meetings, which we do every month, sort of a virtual town hall, we put up our objectives every month. And we show where are we, and we ask everybody to give us a report card. Where are we? Where are we at? Where are we trending? We share our numbers. We have transparency in terms of revenue, clients in, clients out. We share the cost of goods in our business. We share all those things so that we're all bought in together and moving forward. And I think, to me, that's really those are the ingredients that have helped us.
What's next for you guys? What's the next? I know you're not gonna stop. What's the next mountain? What's on the vision
Yeah.
board? As much as you can
Uh,
share, I mean.
no, I'm open book. We I've been wanting to look at the acquisition strategy for a long time in terms of acquiring other companies, growth through acquisition, not just
Mhm.
organic. Um, Bruce, who I mentioned earlier at the top of this, the owner of Action Furnace, had always questioned me like, "Are you ready? Like, you have to make sure that 1+1 = 3, because together you need to be better than, independently." So, he always questioned, are your processes in place? Are they solid? Is your team solid? Is your culture solid? Are these things solid? Because acquiring to acquire, if it doesn't work, can end the company. It ends
Right.
everything. It ends the
Right.
culture. It ends the, so for us, an acquisition strategy is what we have sort of prepared for. We wanted to be able to see if we could scale fast ourselves. We wanted to see if we could fulfill, maintain a great client experience. And now we have the belief that we can start looking at missing pieces, whether it's new products, new verticals, and maybe new geographies, and start acquiring strategically and seeing if 1+1 = 3, and trying to leverage, two companies together and saying, how do we make more out of this? So that is really what I'm focusing on right now, is looking at opportunities where we can grow through mergers and acquisitions. And I'm ready to take that challenge on.
That's amazing. Man, it's only fitting to have you as number one. Every time I talk to you, it's like, on one hand, it feels good because you're catching up with a buddy. On the other hand, it's almost like I wish I had a notepad, right? I try to be a sponge every time I'm around you. And I think that's what we need to do as business owners, right? We need to understand that this is a 1+1 = 3 game. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kevin, we do the same thing. We literally, we're a digital marketing agency, but we learn from each other. We grow with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate this tremendously. And before I let you go, this is how I want to end all of our episodes. And I believe that businesses that grow, that scale, that are ready to grow, and they actually achieve it and realize that they have leaders that are strong. And I believe strong leaders have strong daily routines. And so we're going to talk about the concept and the topic of routines. What's yours? Bring us into a day in the life of how it starts with Kevin.
Sure. So this has been a lot more honed in, to be honest, since the shutdown. I kind of went to keep my sanity. I really nurtured the routine. I valued it. It became more sacred. I wake up the same time every day. We are kind of a 6 a.m. wake up. I
It's because you got
kind of get
kids.
ready. I got to get them out. I got to beat them out of the house before they
That's
wake
right.
up, or it's a game over.
I'm on that. My wife, you should see her. Sorry, I'll let you get back to it. But my wife, love her. I mean, she's given me the greatest gift of all time. But she tiptoes out of the house before Naya gets up, and she's almost like she's got a coffee in her hand. She's out, and she just gives me one of these little, like, before she leaves, because now it's me and I got to deal with this amazing little human. But anyways, so it's flip for us.
Yeah, so I'm like your wife. I got to tiptoe, but
Okay.
I get up, I get ready. One thing I've really leaned into is meditation,
Hmm.
and I do a 10-minute meditation. I've done it every day since March 1st. And that sort of, it's that 1% of your day sets up the rest of the 99%. And I believe in that. And then I go to the gym the majority of the days where I don't have an early meeting, and I'm in the office by 8, and I have basically people meetings. Mostly my job is managing teams and people and ideas. So I'm in meetings from basically 8 to 6. I try not to leave the office ever without having my inbox clear and clean, so that when I get home, I can be 100% present. I don't think it makes sense to show up home early if you're not
Right.
present.
Right.
And so I show up, basically at 6 o'clock. We have dinner. I then spend time with the kids until they're 8 o'clock. Bedtime, really, it's like 11, but 8 o'clock is when they have to start winding down. And once they're sort of in bed, 8:30, 9 o'clock, then it's time with my wife. And we get our hour to 2. And if I have work that is still pressing, it happens at the end of the day after 11. So I'm motivated to make sure that I get everything done in that time so that I can have that time with them. And that balance has worked really well for me.
You told me you guys are into the vino. You're on the vino train right now with your wife. How's that going?
It's great. I was lucky enough to go to Kelowna a couple times this past summer, and Yeah, some days it's a glass, some days it's a bottle.
Oh boy.
No judgment either way. Sometimes it's cocktails before wine. That's one thing I did invest in over lockdown is I ordered in an entire bar setup and it's like a whole suite of different spirits and liqueurs. And then I downloaded Masterclass for those that
Yeah.
haven't downloaded. It's just an amazing online learning platform where you're learning from the world's best. And I do like business, personal. I kind of alternate. So I've done the Starbucks, and then I've done gardening, and I'm trying to really expand. And I took the culinary arts, the bartending one, and I used to bartend years ago, but it was all about how to make money behind the bar. It was I knew how to work a room. I didn't know how to make
money.
Yeah. I had no idea how to make. I knew how to make old fashioned. So I've invested in that, and it's been fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, you're such a beauty. I deeply, truly appreciate it. You're number one, man, and I appreciate it. Thanks for everything, and everyone's going to take a lot of value from this, and I'm excited to see how the podcast grows. Thanks for everyone that's listening, and Kevin, just keep killing it, man. You're one of the good guys. I want to see you keep winning. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Caleb. Thanks everybody watching, and best of luck on this, man. Anything I can do to support you, anyone listening, send me a note on LinkedIn. I'm happy to lend any way I can.
Awesome.